So welcome, everyone. So excited to have you all here today. So this is our 2211 What's New webinar. Yay! I know everyone has been keeping on top of all the changes that are coming out because everyone's getting the Monday minutes and seeing everything that's happening. So lots and lots of changes. The big thing, as everyone knows, which we've been trying to holler to make sure everyone is aware of it, is that the big change in 2211 is the look of the staff interface. So just kind of be aware of that. The functionalities, there's been some great enhancements and things like that, but nothing major has changed other than a nice clean look that we're still tweaking. Now, that being said, the next thing I'm going to say is that if you are one of the libraries that has done a lot of jQuery to customize and CSS to customize how your site is going to look, you're going to want to be ready because it has changed a lot of things. So there may be some things that have broken, things like that. So just kind of be aware of that. That's one of those things that we are just kind of hollering as much as we can of if you've got custom stuff on your site, just kind of be aware of that, that some of those changes may happen. Okay, so some brief introductions. So lots of different faces than what you're normally seeing, I think. So everyone knows me. I'm Donna Wachowski. I am on the education team here at Bywater Solutions, and y'all have been putting up with me for the last 5 years as we've been going through these twice a year webinars, and I am so very sorry about that. But I'd like to introduce some of my other team members that you all may not be aware of. We've had some staffing changes here at Bywater. So first up is Katrina. Katrina joined us about a year ago. So you've seen her in some of the different sections, different ones that we've been doing and have worked with her. She is in Dallas Fort Worth area in Texas. I'm in Northern Kentucky. Right below me on the list, I have Esther. Now, Esther is the newest member of our education team. She joined us 2 weeks ago. So we are throwing her in fast, hot and heavy. Esther comes to us from Idaho. We stole her away from LCEI, and we are so happy to have her with us. Delighted to have her join us. Next down on my list is Lisette. Again, another familiar face that y'all, a name that y'all are familiar with. Lisette joined us, gosh, 4 months ago, about Lisette, somewhere around there.
Yeah, in February.
Yeah, and so she is just managing tickets and keeping us all in track. So we love having Heba as part of our education team too, doing a lot of the support as we do those. And last but not least is Heba, who has been working with us for, I guess, about 2 years now at this point in different parts. We have completely brought her over to the education team, and she is our documentation specialist and educator. And she is having significant internet issues. So we're not sure what's happening with that one. And since a lot of the webinar is stuff that she's going to be talking about, kind of bear with us as we go through this because you all know that technology loves to do this. So we're going to see what we can do as far as kind of figuring those things out. So yeah, she's going to restart her computer and see what we can do. So anyways, again, we've got the agenda posted in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Let's see. I'm going to share this one. Just so everyone can kind of see what we've got going on. Okay, so what we're covering today, this is the same thing that is being covered in Wednesday's webinar, so you are welcome to attend that one also, or you can just record this. We will get these posted very quickly so that you can share that with all of your partners. I know the first question that is going to be asked is, when are the upgrades happening? We will be posting those dates to your site this week, so you'll see those little red boxes that everyone's looking for. If you've contacted us already about changing your update and things like that, we've got you scheduled for the next one, but the upgrades will be happening in the next couple of weeks. So very exciting, right, everyone? Okay, so again, just kind of a quick overview of some of the big stuff we're looking at. There's a new design for the staff interface. We have a new ERM module in Koha, which is very exciting for a lot of folks. Some different system preferences changes as we're going through those. Some new tables, which makes all of those report writers happy as we go through this sort of thing. We have some changes in OPAC and public services. One of the big one that we see that libraries have asked for was sponsored by Montgomery County Public Library, and that is the ability to allow patrons to change a pickup location while in transit and to change the pickup location for non-waiting holds. We also have another really cool feature sponsored by Roundrock, which is the ability to create saved searches as filters, which you all are absolutely going to love. A couple of other things have been long asked for, enabling an adult to have a guarantor. So really fantastic with that one. There have been some technical services changed, including a couple of system preferences that are going to make things a whole lot better for catalogers, give you more options. We have the ability to do templates, sponsored by Monterey and Click, and then the ability to group items and place holds on those groups, sponsored by Arlington, which is really kind of a neat functionality also. Okay. We've listed all of the partners that have done additional developments in here, trying to just kind of highlight the big things and stuff like that. But all of these do have posts on them. And we will go ahead and put into our webinar chat the, it's right there at the bottom of the page. You know, Donna, scroll down all the way. We have our upgrades hub, where we have all of that documentation and links and all of those exciting things. And that will continue to be added to as we go. And there's Heba, yay! When in doubt, do a restart, right? All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go ahead and jump into our first section. And that is going to be, I've got to rearrange my windows. I believe that's Heba that's starting off, right? Lisette and Heba, why don't y'all take it away?
Whenever I share my screen, it moves the mute button. Gotta remember to unmute first. So you should be able to see a Koha staff interface that looks a lot like what you currently have come to expect. We're just going to start off showing a little bit of what's changed in the new interface. So it's a lot sleeker up here in the bar. You've still got your like checkout search, check-in, renew, the search patrons box, and searching the catalog, which also has options for adding a drop down for branches. And you can select here keyword or title, all of those kinds of things. Also on this page, it now has the version of Koha you're on down here in the corner, which is nice because if you've gotten like a point upgrade, little security upgrades, you can see that now really easily at first glance. So that's just like differences on the main page. The tools chain, some of the tools moved to the catalog. The cataloging tools moved to a new cataloging homepage. So instead of being on this tool on the tools page here, all these cataloging ones, because as you can see, there's a lot of tools now. So this page gets a little bit unwieldy if you've got lots of plugins. Now all the cataloging ones have moved here, and this tools page is a little bit more readable, even with lots of plugins. Oh, I see Sarah asked in the chat or in the Q&A is the fact that jQuery might break on the staff side something we can address ahead of time to try to prevent. If you have a test server, you can always test on that, but we have the demo site as well that gets refreshed every, is it 3 hours, Donna?
Yep, every 3 hours starting at midnight Pacific time. Okay,
so you can always test your jQuery out on there and just see like, oh, does it all work as I expect or did it break? That's a great way to test it if you don't have a test server. Let's see. Oh yeah, we also have some new configuration here on the tables, where a number of the tables have this new configure button, which Head is going to go into further a little later, but also on some of the tables, more to come in the future. You can have it save if you change which columns are showing, and then usually if you refresh the page, it would re-show all of those columns, but all those columns stayed hidden here. And so that's like per user settings. Right now it works for the branches table, but there is a bug to add that to a wider variety of these tables that are getting the configure button. Let's see, we also have the e-resource management module, which is great for keeping track of like contracts and licenses that you've got. There's also information for like local e-holdings. And if you want to look into that further, Jesse and Kelly have done a great series of blog posts going into how to set it all up and how to make it work for you. And then also, this was one that Donna had talked about that Monterey County sponsored for us, that we can allow the return policy to be selected via a new system preference, CERT controls return branch. So that if you want to set it, right now it just goes via the home library of the item, but now you can have it just like with CERT control and reserve control, whether it's checked in, holding branch, or owning branch.
So we have a question actually about configuring the columns. So does changing the columns in a table persist until the end of a session, until the browser is closed, or every time a computer logs in? How long do the selections persist? When you do a change on the fly, I've discovered it only keeps it until I move away from that screen. So it is a very, very short time. So if I go ahead and change that table configuration just on the fly there, and I move away from that screen and come back to it, that change has been gone.
There's a bug on that, Donna. I'll type the bug in the chat. So it is supposed to persist, and it's not working on all tables.
Branches is the only one the original bug was actually for. And then I think a couple of the other tables that have the new configure also save it. But yeah, so right now branches is the most consistent, but there is a bug to add all of the tables that have this configure button in the future should be getting the ability to save, and it should persist. I'm pretty sure it's stored as a cookie. So I think it's as long as you have the cookie, it should persist. And that's it. And I'm going to hand it over to Heba now for the next few items on the agenda.
Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. Lisette alluded to the fact that the table configuration has moved into an easier to find spot previously, and it does still live in administration and table settings, where you had to go, okay, was that holdings? Is that catalog? Is that, what table am I looking for here? Now, when we search the catalog, any table that is configurable, so I'm going to look up my old friend, Where the Crawdads Sing. If I look in here and I have the appropriate permissions, I can configure the table directly from there. So I'm going to say, I don't actually want to see the collection code or the spine label button. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and go back to my record. One more. Oh, and I don't want to see renewals either. I forgot I added that. So let's hide renewals. Now it is. Now it's gone. And this is, so the gear for the column settings, that is session specific and user specific. The configure button is for folks who have the full administrative privileges or the manage column config permission. So if you don't have that permission, you won't see the little gear here, but anywhere you're moving around the site that has a table that is configurable and you see the gear and you have those permissions, you will be able to adjust it on the fly. This is probably one that we are the most inordinately excited about, because as we are helping new partners settle into their sites, we are constantly going in and hiding columns or showing columns. And now it's just so much easier to do it at the moment without having to guess, okay, is that holdings or is that catalog or is that item details? Which table was that I was looking for? The other two changes are not one that is as easy to show, but that is some data changes, and I did write a blog post about that I'm going to drop in the chat. So a couple of the tables that are undergoing changes, the checkout renewals used to just be in the issues table. You would see when something was last renewed, how many times it was renewed, and whether those were seen or unseen renewals. Now each renewal moves into the a new table in the schema called checkout renewals. This also brings with it a change to the issues and old issues table, where it used to be checkouts, or no, renewals. Now that is renewals count. So if you have some reports that are relying on issues data and you have a renewal count in there, you'll need to point that column at the new data field. We noted that our partners who are using some of our third-party services like Shoutbomb relied on that renewals field. We have been in touch with them to make sure that their reports are going without interruption. And then another data change that is going to be exciting for folks who care about reports or write reports is that patron category code has now moved into the statistics table. So when you are running statistics before, you used to, if you wanted to find out what patron category was checking out, you used to have to link to the borrowers table. And then if you were going into older data, you had to then link to the deleted borrowers to make sure that you got everybody's category code. This records what category was this user at the time that their checkout, renewal, or local use happened. So it's going to simplify a lot of report writing. And I see a question from George if items.renewals isn't part of the items table anymore. No, that's still there. This is related to the issues and old issues tables, specifically the renewal count on the issues data. And as I said, that's not really a fun thing to show off in the staff client. So there is a blog post about it that I put in the chat. And then that is my section for the moment. So I'm going to bounce it back to Lisette to talk about patron services, OPAC and public services.
So the next section, we've got 3 bugs here about allowing patrons to cancel their waiting holds and also adding options to let the user change their pickup location once the item is like in transit or waiting. So the first one, there's a new set in the Circ and Fine rules called the default waiting hold cancellation policy, which you can set per patron category and item type to allow or disallow patrons to request a cancellation from the OPAC. And important thing to note, if you're using Aspen, there's a bug. Aspen will just cancel the hold instead of requesting to cancel the hold. So you don't have a good way of knowing if the hold was canceled if you turn that on in your Aspen library. But if you have it set to that item type can be canceled, and then you go look at the OPAC, this one is waiting at the North Branch and has an option here to cancel. Which then if you do it, it doesn't show anymore for the patron. And if you go to the holds awaiting pickup under circulation, there's a new holds with cancellation request tab. And you can see here, like, oh yeah, I want to cancel that hold, or cancel and return it to another branch. And then if you do that, it'll put it into transit for you. So that's that part of it. Then there's also a new system preference that's OPAC allow user to change branch, which lets you select from in transit, pending, and suspended whether or not the location, pickup location can be changed. And so both of these now have the option. This one is suspended, and the patron can now change their location to pick it up. Also, if it's in transit, like this one is in transit from the North Branch to main library, patron actually decides they want to pick it up at North Branch because that's their home library. Now, when it gets scanned in to the main library, it'll just send it back to the North Branch. And that one was sponsored by Montgomery County Public Library. Well, part of that was the changing the pickup location while it's in transit, and the ability to cancel waiting holds were both sponsored by Montgomery County Public Library. There's also the new ability to create a saved search to use as a filter when you're searching. And so up here now, if there's search results, it lets you edit the search, which exists on the current version of Koha that we're using, but it also lets you save the search as a filter. And you can ask if you want it to show in the OPAC or the staff interface, give it a name, or if you've updated a filter, you can replace that. And then if you do that, you can say, oh, custom search filters over here. I just want Percy Jackson audiobooks. And you can see here that it has multiple audiobooks and shelving locations, and it doesn't look like there are any Percy Jackson audiobooks that fit that filter. And then on the OPAC, again, it shows over here. It takes you to that one because it's the only one that's marked as reference or nonfiction. Patrons can't add search filters, only staff can. But then also you can search within the results now. So if you're like, oh, well, there's 29 results, I want fewer Percy Jackson results, I'm really only looking for the Lightning Thief, then it does a search within and brings back the 5 Lightning Thief items, which is really nice. Just if you have a search that comes back a lot wider than you want it to, instead of having to like restart the search, especially if you've selected anything on an advanced search screen, you don't have to go back. You can just search within it right there, which is really handy.
We have a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to or not. I'm desperately trying to find out because I don't. Who has permission to save a filter for other users? I thought it was a permission, but I'm not seeing it in the permissions. So
it's in the blog post at the Monday Minutes that Kelly and Jesse did. I've linked the answer. It's you need to have the permission manage_search_filters in permissions.
Okay, thank you, Katrina. Okay. And that one was sponsored by Round Rock. The ability to create the saved searches was sponsored by one of our partners, Round Rock Public Library. Oh yeah, so the item search in the OPAC, if you do a search, like for Flowerpedia, when you want to browse the results now, it shows additional title information. Let's see. And the number, the like part and volume information. or part number of part and name of part information shows now in this browse results. Before, if you look at the same browse results. Oh, did not save the search when I went across like that, I guess. It would have just shown the flower, just Flowerpedia for all of them. So you don't know which one is which. You would have had to go back to the browse results to see what's really going on there. And then next, it's back to Heba for patrons in circulation.
All right. And these changes are going to be ones that I think a lot of libraries are going to be very excited about. So the first one is a change to the guarantor-guarantee relationships. So previously, if you wanted an account to be a guarantee of another account, you had to make it a child type account, which was inaccurate sometimes for public libraries that might have a guardianship situation, and definitely really weird for the law libraries that wanted to have their lawyers connected to a firm. So now you can set at the patron category level whether that account can be a guarantor or can be a guarantee, independent of whether that is actually a child account. So in our test site, we have a professional type account, and previously we would have had to say, make that a child account to make that able to be a guarantee. Now there's another special field that says can be guarantee, yes, no. So this one is going to make life easier for a lot of libraries.
So Heba, let me stop you right there,
Yeah.
because I know the next question we're going to get is, oh, that's me. I've had to do some things like that. What's your recommendation for kind of cleaning this up?
I would say go in and an account type that should be able to be a guarantee.
How about
Actually,
this? What I was fishing for, sorry, was if you're a Bywater partner, open a ticket.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
can help with the data cleanup. We can help with the adjustments because we don't want you having to go in there one by one.
Yeah.
So we can get that information from you, say, okay, this needs to be this needs to be this, and we can help you with those changes. So just if you're a Bywater partner, go ahead and open a ticket, and we're happy to clean those up. But you don't necessarily have to either, right? There's no harm in leaving them as they are.
No, I mean, and you can make an account a guarantee account and then do, if it's just a few accounts and you want to do that cleanup yourself, you can. But yeah, putting in a ticket's a lot simpler. Donna asked and I froze up, like, what are the steps I would do if I did that?
Sorry about that.
Chronic overthinkers, that's the education team. Another new feature is the ability to easily print a patron's fines. So we're going to look at Zaphod Beeblebrox's account because he's got some outstanding fees. Under the print information up here, there is a new notice called Print Account Balance. It is typically going to be for accounts that have an outstanding balance. So here we see his fees for a Percy Jackson book and how much it's owed. This corresponds to a new notice that is it's accounts summary in your notices. It is one that is configured by Template Toolkit. So if you get in there and want to make changes and go, whoa, I don't know about that, put in a ticket. We'll help you customize that as well. It is technically for any non-zero account balance. So if you have an account that has outstanding credits, that will also populate on there. The outstanding accounts will not be available on an account that has a zero balance under that print option. So that's that notice. And then if you had eagle eyes when Lizette was showing the hold cancellation under the circulation rules, you might have noticed a little something different under the default refund policy. This one is another one that's going to make a lot of libraries happy. So the first change is to the refund lost item replacement fee, a new option to refund the lost item charge only if it's unpaid is going to be useful for libraries where you don't actually take payment, you don't actually issue refunds there at the desk. Maybe it needs to go through a bursar's office. Maybe it goes through your finance department. But until now, you've been dealing with these floating Koha credits that you can't do anything with at the time. Now you can say only refund the lost item charge if they haven't paid it yet.
I think we almost need a moment of silence for that one because that has been such a workflow issue. So it's very, very exciting for a lot of us.
Yes. And another one that we may also need a moment for is a way to deal with the refund lost item processing fee. And lo, the angels sang. Now you have an ability to refund a lost item fee by default. Lost item processing fee by default. Refund it only if it's not paid, or leave it if that's what you want. Our early adopters did discover that it was the default new state was to refund that. We have caught that, and for our partners who will be updating later this month, you will continue with the default behavior to leave the lost item processing charge, and then if you want to change that to refund, you can make that adjustment. But this is another one that we have had so many tickets over the years asking, is there a way to do that? And a whole lot of going in there manually with people's accounts and canceling or waiving or writing things off. So hopefully this will save your staff some time and headaches. And then a couple more changes. I'm going to go back to my old buddy, Zaphod Beeblebrox. We have a couple of new fields on this account. We have a middle name and we have a pronoun field. Previously, there was not a dedicated middle name field in Koha. So libraries with John Smiths and Jane Does and common names kind of made things work a little bit squidgy by first name space last name. There was a lot of massaging and clever data things happening to try to fit that information in there so that you could tell patrons with common names apart from each other a little bit better. Now there is a new free text middle name field. There is another free text pronouns field. So for the middle name, if you have a lot of patrons that you have massaged in a middle name somewhere, whether it's using the other names field or first name space last name, and there is you need help making some broader changes, put in a ticket. Our friendly data folks know that this is something that partners may be ready to ask for. And then the pronouns field is just in a new addition. They correspond to all the old standby system preferences, borrower unwanted, whether you want to show it in an update, in the updating window, whether you want it to show on your registration form, whether they can change things from the OPAC. All those system preferences that I'm not going to try to rattle off the top of my head, that is a field in there now. Those are fields in there. And something that I did want to note is if you have anything in the default patron search fields system preference. So if you have been searching other fields, you will probably want to add middle name, the middle underscore name field to that. If that preference is blank, middle name will be included in the default patron search fields. So this is one of those things where longtime partners, you may want to check your default patron search fields preference to make sure that you have middle name included in that.
A couple of quick questions.
Yeah.
So George has asked, would it be possible to link the pronouns fields to a set of authorized values? And yes, you could create an authorized value that is pronouns, just like you could anything else, and link that to that field. We can definitely do that. So the other question is a little bit off of what we're talking about. Can we define what constitutes a payment? One of our payment types is waive. And I know I've seen a lot of libraries do that. What they do is they do go into the authorized values and choose payment type and set a payment type as waive. We see libraries that do this that don't want to give their staff the permission to write off. So what they do, instead of giving the staff the ability to write off a fine, they take away that permission and they use the payment type of waive to indicate there was no money exchanged, but that fee has been taken off the account. So that is in your authorized value. The next one is how do we input junior, senior, et cetera, et cetera. For all of those, you're just going to go ahead and plop those in that last name field after, Bachowski, junior, senior, third, whatever. Those will just go into that last name field. All right.
So that's what I had for patrons in circulation. So we are on to technical services, which is Donna and Katrina's.
Yep, and I'm going to stop for just a second. We got another question that came through. Can you have multiple surname fields? No. You can have one surname field. However, it will hold thousands of characters. So with students that have multiple last names, you can just put, Bachowski, Jones, Smith, hyphen, Sanford, whatever. You can put all of those names in there, either hyphenated or not, whatever it is. And those will all be searched in that when you do that search. The waive question was in relation to the new default lost item refund policy.
I think the question is whether they can exclude certain payments from applying for that. So if it's waived, would it?
Okay, no, it's either going to forgive it or not. Yeah, that's not going to kind of look at those. It's just whether it was paid or not. And since if it is being used as a payment type of waive, that will be considered a payment. So that would come off of it. Yeah. So definitely one of those things to take a look at. All right. I think Katrina, you're up to start, right? Cataloging.
And I'm so excited. So I've been watching, as I've been learning Koha, I've been watching a lot of the videos and stuff. And so I know Heather's on right now because she messaged earlier. So Heather, I wore my cataloger's pearls just so we could clutch them because this is amazing. We're so excited that in 22.11, look at this sad cataloging module homepage screen. This is what y'all currently have in 22.05. And look at all of the tools that now exist in 22.11. I think this is one of the biggest improvements in this release is putting all of those items in the cataloging module because it's the catalogers that need them. They're even, when we go over into 22.05 into tools, it says cataloging tools. So this just makes sense. So I'm so glad that all of these things moved over. I've been training on this release and I will tell you, I still sometimes go back to the cataloging tools in the tools module instead of the cataloging module, but this is just so much more intuitive. So I still have my links up at the top that I was expecting, but from the prior release, so my buttons are still there for the advanced editor, new record, and new from Z3950 search. But now I don't have to go back and forth and remember, was that in tools? Was that in administration? I've even got a couple of my cataloging preferences are quick linked from administration into my cataloging system preferences. I've got that quick link there. So this to me is just one of those quality of life things where all of the tools that I need as a cataloger are going to be quick on that homepage at my disposal. So really excited about that one. And the other thing that is pretty big update for those of you that are using authorities, there was some confusion on how Koha handled authorities. And so they're in 22.05, there's this system, I'm searching the catalog, not searching my system preferences. So in 22.05, we had this system preference called Biblio Adds Authorities. And it caused a lot of confusion about whether or not authority records were going to be created if I had the opportunity to type in an authority into a controlled field. So in 22.11, we have done away with that system preference. It is gone. So Biblio Adds Authorities is out. And in are two new system preferences. So I'm going to go into administration, and from there, I'm going to go into authorities. So I'm going to see two new system preferences here. The first one is require choosing existing authority. So this is going to tell us whether a cataloger has to choose from existing authorities or whether they're able to enter free text into controlled fields. So if it is set to require, then they are going to have to select existing authorities. And the other new system preference is auto link biblios. And this is going to determine whether or not Koha is going to attempt to link a new record to existing authorities upon saving. And so when you're coming over from 2205, if you have biblio adds authorities set to don't allow right now, that will set in 2211, then require choosing existing authority will be set to require, and auto link biblios will be set to don't. And then just the inverse of that is true. So if biblio adds authorities is set to allow in 2205, then when you upgrade to 2211, require choosing existing authority will be set to don't require, and auto link biblios will be set to do. We're working on the blog post for this one that will have more details. You can expect that soon. And as soon as we have that, that'll provide a little bit more detail for those catalogers handling authorities moving forward.
Hey, Katrina, with that exciting move of all those cataloging tools moving to the different page, does that require any change in permissions?
No, it does not require a change in permissions. That's just going to be your new view. So if you don't have access to some of those tools, if you didn't have access to them within the tools module in 2205, you will not see those links to those tools within the cataloging module in 2211.
And then a follow-up question from Juliet. With this change, when are authorities automatically generated? So that's going to be based on what your settings are.
Yeah, so that's going to bring in some other system preferences. So whether you have auto create authorities set to match or not, to require or don't require, is going to determine whether or not those are created. But that's an existing system preference. So it will depend on what that system preference is set to.
Awesome. So y'all, I think I get to talk about a couple more of those really cool things that are added into the system. So item templates. One of those things that is going to be really helpful for a lot of y'all's workflows. So if I am working on a record, and we're just going to go ahead and look for, so this is an example of jQuery that we are still playing with. There we go. I'm going to look for puppies. All right, let's try that again. There we go. Bring my screen back up. So you can see here that we're playing with some jQuery and things like that so that we can give you all some guidance on what's doing it. And that's why we haven't released everything just yet, because we're still tweaking some of these things out. But what I can do now is when I am adding items to my records, I can use item templates. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab any record, and I'm doing a new item. So in our item add screen, you'll see here I now have the functionality talking about templates. And I can either not use a template, or I can choose from either my templates, which I'm the only person that sees, or shared templates. So for instance, what we're seeing here, and you can see the examples like with the fast add template, is shared across our system. So any staff member that needs to add a fast add item, they can have that template ready to go. So I'm going to say, you know what, just in this case, I'm going to grab that fast add template and apply that template. And then it goes ahead and populates all of that information in. So I can have my materials added, my material specified note. I can have the not for loan already added. I can add non-public notes. All of those sorts of things can be added in there as a template, just to make it a little bit easier for staff as we're going through that. Okay. I also have the ability to either apply it for a session. So if I'm doing a whole bunch of things that has that same template over and over again, and I don't want to choose the collection code and the shelving location and all of that sort of stuff, I can apply that for my session as I'm going. So creating a template is also fairly straightforward. I'm going to say apply my ILL template. Okay, and again, we can see the example here. I've got my material specified note in there. I've got my replacement price in there. I've got my non-public note in there. Okay, let's go ahead and do a new one. So we're going to go ahead and say this is going to be a books Donna wants to read. And we're going to go ahead and say these will be things that are in-house only as my not for loan. And I'm just going to make this up and make it completely ridiculous because y'all know that's what I do. It's going to be fiction. It's going to be a shelving location of general. It's going to have call numbers are all going to be Donna. And they're going to have $50.26 replacement prices. And the item types are going to be, oh, I don't know, hidden in OPAC. Again, being utterly ridiculous, but you can go ahead and put this in here and have that template saved by clicking on this Save as Template. It is permissions. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. And then I have the ability again to either do it as a shared template or as a template only for me. Now, when we say shared, it is shared for the entire system. So you large libraries systems, think that through. Do you really want to have to scroll through 500 templates based on your different locations? So what we have kind of come up with a workflow for that is if you have templates at a specific library that you are sharing amongst yourselves, what you can do is go ahead and just kind of, set those templates up for each person as a group, and then go ahead and, just use them that way. So there's no real smooth way to do it. It's just going to be kind of like some group work to make sure everyone's template is set up the same way as you go that way.
I want to interrupt. George actually had a great question. So he asked, can I have a template that's available to all staff at just one library? And there is a bug in the community for that. The answer is not right now, but there is a bug in the community. It's 20256. So that's not the first time that question's been asked. It's a good one.
So yeah, but in the meantime, what you're going to want to do is just kind of get everybody in there. There would be a way that you could do it too. I haven't played with it too much, but I'm thinking if I pull up a record that has been created with a template, I can go ahead and remove anything that I need to, and then save it as a template. So there's kind of a way that you can do that. But again, it is going to be kind of a manual way to get those shared as the way that you want to. But those templates are going to be, I think, really helpful for when you are kind of do bulk processing, particularly that you want that same information. But I really see a lot of the use in this in ILL and FastAdd, because in the past we've been doing different frameworks and customizing the frameworks and things like this. These templates are going to make things so much easier to be able to do those sorts of things. So huge thanks to our partners that sponsored that one. And that is Monterey County and CLIC, Colorado Library Consortium. So the next one is really cool too, y'all. So we've always kind of struggled between, I have, Food Network magazine, and I want my patrons to be able to place a hold on it, but they can't just place a bib level hold. They have to be able to place an item level hold. And how do I know which copy is going to come back first? So we now have the ability, thanks to the Arlington Public Library that sponsored this, to do what's called an item group and to place holds on item groups. So in this example of my very messy old Food Network magazine bib record, we can see here that I have item groups for a couple of my titles, or for a couple of my issues. So I have an item group for December 2019 and an item group for November 19. When I want to place a hold now, one of my options is hold next available item from an item group. So what that lets me do is say, I want the next copy of November 2019 that is available. So I don't have to say a specific barcode. I can say that next group, and that's going to go ahead and do that. When I place that hold in my holds queue, it'll indicate that sort of information. There we go. Oh, I keep losing it. There we go. Next available item from that group. So again, not bib, not item, but that nice middle ground for as we're doing that. So now you're saying, well, how can I do that in my records? So all you need to do is come into that bib record and you'll see the items group tab. I can go ahead and set up a new item group, and we're going to call this one, I don't even know what's in there. We're going to say January 2020, whatever it is. I'm going to go ahead and add that to my item group. Okay, I can see my item groups listed here, so I can delete those as I needed to. I can also designate the order that they show up in. Otherwise, they just go in computer-generated counting order. I'm going to go back into my holdings, and I am going to find, maybe I have something from January. Oh, there we go. So there's I have 2 copies of my January, February 2020. I'm using my check boxes on the left. And now I have here a link into the top that's add or move to an item group. I click on that. It says choose your group. I set my item group. And those items have now been added to that item group. So easy peasy to do it, and such a great help moving forward. So not just for magazines, but also I've seen libraries that have started using it, for instance, with travel guides, where they have perhaps the 2022 and the 2023, and the patron really wants a specific year of it, or for libraries that are doing things such as breaking up DVD sets or something like that. You've got a lot of flexibility as far as how you can use this, but very, very exciting to see this in place. So that is your item groups functionality.
Donna, we have a question in the chat. Is there a script or other tool to help find volumes or create the item groups, then move the items into the new groups, or is it an entirely manual task?
There's not going to be scripts. We could probably run reports where it is looking for information in the serial enumeration to do that. I have not tested this in batch modification, though. I don't know that that's going to let us do that in there. So that'll be something for us to follow up on. I think that for most libraries, it is going to be a moving forward process. But as always, go ahead and open a ticket and let us dig into it a little bit more and see what our the great minds at Bywater can come up with as far as making this work. And I can see Lisette's face. She's already thinking about, how do I write the report that does this? Excellent. Okay. This last one, bundles. Y'all, bundles are a thing. I don't think they're going away. I know they started as a big thing and got really big during COVID. And now we've seen libraries doing really cool stuff with bundles too. So this is a neat functionality that is coming in here. So what I can do is I can go ahead and group items into a bundle to circulate as a group. Couple of steps with this one. I'm only going to hit it really quickly because we've only got a couple of minutes. But basically what you're going to do is in your bib record, you're going to create a bib record for the bundle. You're going to go someplace that I am very uncomfortable going into, and that is the leader. You are setting your subfield 7 or indicator 7, whatever the right word is, to collection type. That's the important part. Then you're going to go ahead and into your bib records, you can create a item that is your circulating item. So that is my bundle barcode. My bundle 1 is my barcode for this thing that is circulating. I have a new button here on the far right that says manage bundle. I click on that. I go ahead and add to my bundle by barcode all of these items that I want to circulate together. So I have a story time kit. I have a library of things that has multiple things attached to it. I now have, as part of this bundle 1, these 3 particular items. If I look at those bib records now, I will see that that has been updated to show it's part of a bundle. Okay, so that item is no longer available. Okay. So I've got that in there. I'm going to go ahead and check out this bundle real quick. Check out to Amelia. Okay. There's my bundle. I will see the note that it is a bundle of 3 items. It is due back. When I take a look at it, again, I can see all that information. When I check it in, I am asked to scan the barcodes of all those items. So it is confirming on return all of those items that are in there. And so you do need to go ahead and scan those when they come in. And then I can go ahead and confirm the check-in. If there's any of them missing, they'll automatically be marked as missing from bundle. There we go. All our exciting stuff. And then what I also do have the ability, though, is I can go ahead, manage that bundle, and I can remove those items from that bundle either individually or as groups. So I can go ahead and kind of make that bundle a living thing as we go. So lots more information coming about that one. So wow, got some
lots of questions about this, Donna. So the first one you just answered, Kelly was asking, can a bundle be used temporarily and easily unbundled? So Donna just showed you how to remove those items from the bundle. David's asking, if bundles are used, do you have circulation data for the individual items, or is it just for the bundle?
I will have to look with that one. I don't know. I would imagine that it would, because it is actually a checkout. So I imagine that it will go ahead and track those, but that'll be one that we follow up on.
Okay. And how do bundles work with circ rules? Say the checkout for a bundle of 3 DVDs and are limited to only check out 3 DVDs total. Are they at their limit, or can they check out 3 DVDs?
So the bundle kind of removes them from those circ rules. So if I have a bundle of 12 DVDs that is one bundle that they can have. And so you set up your circ rules of bundles.
Okay. And what happens if someone tries to check out or check in an item that is part of a bundle before I check out or check in the bundle barcode?
I can't.
Right.
So if I try to check it out, it tells me, nope, you can't check it out. It's part of a bundle. So that's a warning to staff that they need to kind of take a look at that. So, but we're going to have a much more in-depth blog post and tutorial coming on that one. Just want to kind of give you all a sneak peek. So I'm going to throw this back to Katrina, who's going to talk really fast in the next minute to finish up our webinar.
Reading quick. Both of these are on in acquisitions. So I'm in acquisitions. I've gone to a vendor. It used to be that within my vendor, I had the ability to say when my expected delivery was for that vendor. I can set that delivery time at 21 days. In this release, I now have the ability to go in and edit each line of an order to say that I have an expected delivery date that may be different than the other items. So rather than basing it off of the 21 days that I've got set by vendor, I can edit this particular line to a new date. If it's blank, it will default to what you have set for the vendor level, but I can say that for this item, I know, for example, this isn't going to be published till November. So I want to set that particular item within that order to a later date. So now that's for open and closed orders. So now you'll have the ability to edit your expected delivery dates from the basket, whether they're open or closed. And you can also do it from the late order. So you have these items with expected deliveries that are late orders. You can edit, you talk to the vendor, oh, actually there's been an issue. So you can update that right from your late orders as well by line item. The other one is gives you some flexibility to update the fund within, again, within acquisitions. I'm going to go back to my vendor, Sunshine Books. And I'm going to go to invoices. So now I can see on invoices like this one, I had set when I placed this order that this was coming from my fund Romance Books, but actually I want to change that. It's actually Western Books. So when I change that and update my fund, see my order has been updated, this will now show the updated funds within my acquisitions home, I'll see those changes reflected on my budget items for ordered and spent. So you now have the ability to change the fund on an order upon receipt at the invoice level. So was that fast enough? I tried to talk really fast on that one. So those are two little things, but again, giving you more flexibility and control in the acquisitions module.
You did good. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I know this was a really rapid pace. We will get the recording out to you all. We are happy to stay on and answer questions. So don't feel, obligated either way. You're free to leave, or we can answer any additional questions. Again, this will be repeated on Wednesday. And we'll be go ahead and posting all of that extra information. So we hope you're excited. Again, big thing is just the look. So thank you all for playing along, and everyone have an awesome week.